another San Diego Americans for Safe Access news brief. My name is Eugene Davidovich, the San Diego Area Liaison and Chapter Coordinator for Americans for Safe Access. This week in court, we saw a landmark case in the making here in San Diego. On Wednesday, December 15th, Jovan Jackson was back in court for his sentencing hearing in front of Judge Howard Shore, the most biased judge that we have in the San Diego Superior Courthouse, who previously decided to redact and change the actual law to conform to his own beliefs of what the law should be. Well, Mr. Jackson, during his sentencing hearing, was in fact sentenced. He was sentenced to 180 days in jail here in San Diego County, in local jail, not prison, thankfully, and in addition to that, a $5,000 fine and 3 years probation. This was truly a travesty, as the judge, while sentencing Mr. Jackson, proclaimed on the bench that marijuana is not a medicine, that medical marijuana is a scam, that the doctors practicing this medicine are not practicing a real medicine, and that this whole thing is just for profit. It was truly unbelievable, the amount of hate and bias that was spewed out of Judge Shore's mouth that day in court. It was as if Bonnie Dumanis herself was presiding on the bench and speaking. He truly was speaking for Miss Dumanis, who fought very, very hard to exclude Mr. Jackson's defense on the first trial and was not successful in doing so. And when the jury was able to hear the entire case, all the facts and everything, he was acquitted. But the second time, when she found a friend in court in Judge Shore and his desire and hate for medical marijuana, they were able to redact the jury instructions and get a conviction in Mr. Jackson's second trial. Well, that day in court, we also had Joe Elford, Americans for Safe Access Chief Counsel. And with Mr. Elford was Mr. Lance Rogers, Jovan Jackson's attorney, that helped him through the first trial as well as through the second trial. The hearing took probably 3 hours almost and had about 4 or 5 bailiffs in the courtroom. The courtroom was packed with supporters, all of whom had to go through another jury intimidation machine. Yes, a security metal detector was put outside of the courtroom, and everybody who came into the courtroom, wheelchairs, walkers, then had to go through another search in addition to the screening that they went through downstairs upon entering the courthouse, even though there was no jury to influence or to intimidate. And in addition to having to go through the added security measures, the Americans for Safe Access logo was again banned from the courtroom. Everybody who had an ASA shirt was forced to either take it off or cover it up. Everybody who had an ASA tote bag was forced to put that away. And for some odd reason, Judge Shore seemed to be very intimidated by the Americans for Safe Access logo. And the judge continued to spew out hate, to spew out bias, and to disregard the law entirely. He continued to interrupt Mr. Elford as he was making his arguments. He continued to interrupt Mr. Rogers as he was making his. But he allowed the district attorney to go on and did not stop him once during his portion of the proceedings. And as he was sentencing Jackson, again, he proclaimed that marijuana is a scam, that it's not a medicine, that there's no such thing. It was really embarrassing to be sitting there in the courtroom, and a very sad sight to see as the judge was trying to legislate from the bench. And today with us we have Terry Best, San Diego Americans for Safe Access Coordinating Committee member and one of the concerned citizens that was in court that day for the Jovan Jackson sentencing. Hi, Terry, and welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, thank you, Eugene, for having me and for the amazing work that San Diego Americans for Safe Access does.
Well, tell me, what did you notice in court? What was your experience like?
Well, I noticed that during the sentencing portion of the proceedings, Lance Rogers was arguing for Jovan to use his medicine during his probation period, and the judge was spending quite a bit of energy on trying to prevent Jovan from being able to use his medicine. What did you think of all that?
I couldn't believe it. I saw the judge go above and beyond his duty as a justice of the court and try to turn himself into a doctor. What I noticed, I couldn't believe that he successfully prevented Jovan from being able to use a medicine that helps him while he's going to be on probation. It was truly sad.
And it seemed odd to me that Lindbergh would fight so hard for that. It's obvious that Jovan is not a violent person. If a person with DUI, for instance, got arrested and was prevented from using alcohol, I might see that, but this whole idea to treat somebody's pain, to deny somebody the right to treat their pain, just was very, very confusing and hurtful to me.
Did you see Chris Lindbergh skip out of that courtroom with joy when that hearing ended and run towards the cameras that were waiting for him at the end of the hallway?
I think that the whole entire DA's office is really capitalizing on this perceived victory that they have. But what they don't realize, I believe, is that when we appeal this is going to establish case law that will ultimately really hurt them.
I think that it was, we mentioned earlier, the beginning of a landmark case, the makings of a landmark case, and everybody who came to court truly participated in history. Thank you very much for joining us today, Terry.
Thank you for having me, Eugene.
Now remember, folks, this is not over. Americans for Safe Access will be appealing Jackson's conviction and sentencing well before he is scheduled to surrender to authorities on February 1st. Americans for Safe Access will also argue for Jackson's release on bail pending his appeal. Stay tuned for more from San Diego and the front lines in the fierce fight for safe access to medical marijuana for thousands of patients in the city. Get involved, get active, make a difference, and visit www.safeaccesssd.org.